Ah, oh, hello, sister.
Hello. Hello,
Hello,
hello.
all you beautiful souls.
Mm,
Thank you for joining in on
yes.
this morning or whenever you're listening. Oof, we were, we were, we were like really beginning to riff. And I
Yeah.
said, Stacey, I'm gonna need you to pause, and I just need to hit record.
Push record. Let's let the people in on what we're
Hello.
talking about.
Mm.
Oh, oh. All right. So transitions, and thresholds.
Ooh, yeah. So
Mm.
I had a lot of projects this weekend on the Nest. Y'all aren't aware, the Nest is becoming a retreat. She is a retreat sanctuary out here in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina. Hopefully, you'll get to see her one day. Stacey and I have some
Mhm.
fun things cooking. Anyway, bless my beautiful father for coming in and using all his skills. And we were putting in a bunch of new doors. Um, yeah, there was a lot of like sliding doors in this house. Anyways, so it's been an interesting, and I'm reflecting to Stacy over the weekend. My dad's here, we're putting in doors, and she's like, "Isn't that interesting? The portals, like doors are gateways, doors are
Mhm.
portals, doors are
Mhm.
new, closing, opening. There's a whole lot." And right before we jumped on, we were talking a little about like visibility and the different then transitions that we experience in life that will require us to be different identities of ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And the whole visibility piece of that, speaking of doorways and all of that, as you're moving through transitions, which identities are you stepping into and which do you need to shed, which aren't even yours that you just kind of have put on? I know we were talking a little bit just about our backgrounds being in corporate and recognizing like there's a definite identity that goes with that life. And what happens when you're no longer in that life? Or what happens when you're in that life and you move to a different organization with a completely different culture, with a completely different identity? What happens when you just have the identity that you've had? Let's say it's partner, wife, daughter, friend, sister, mother, and life is still lifing. Is your identity static and stagnant, or are you morphing in and out of the different parts of your identity? Because we're saying they're all parts of the same whole, but I feel like we get to be really intentional about it. Like how your dad, the masculine, came and provided this structure for you. Like, here's the structure, Jill. Here's this new doorway. Here are these new doorways. And you get to transition. Jill was telling me about the difference, right? So the transition you said is the same flooring, same footing,
Threshold, threshold.
threshold,
We're all
threshold,
going to
threshold.
learn
Thank you.
something. We're all going to learn
Thank you.
something
Thank
in
you. It's the
carpentry.
threshold. Yes. So that entryway is
I
the
just learned
threshold when
this.
it's the same flooring. Like you're on the same ground, same
Yeah, yeah.
footing. You're at the threshold, right? Just moving from one to the next.
Mm.
But the ground beneath you is still the same. Versus the
Transition.
transition where it is different. You're
Yeah.
walking through the doorway and you're moving from concrete under your feet to wood, or from tile to carpet, or to whatever. There is a change in your footing. There is a transition in how you're being held. You're still being held. It's just different. And so, how do you show up in the thresholds? How do you show up in the transitions in life? Like, who do we get to be? And who do we get to consciously choose to be every time we walk through a doorway? Physical doorway
Yeah.
and metaphorical.
I love this. It's also bringing up for me the transitions that can happen even when you are in um you remain in the same role in the same organization if you're in corporate,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
what happens when you choose to shift your internal commitments, right? Your internal dialogue. So
Right.
I'm seeing this um, heavily in my group, Circle Self, right now. You know, there are some women that they've been in corporate for a long time, they've known this path for a long time, and they're consciously choosing to shift lifestyle to choose a different path for themselves. And let me tell you,
Yeah.
because I've done this, I was in corporate when I really began, you can call it awakening, you can call it whatever y'all want to call it. I really started to be aware of the patterns that weren't serving me. That was an interesting thing to shift while in
Mm,
a corporate world
hmm.
because my colleagues are aware something energetically is changing.
Yeah.
You and I have both done like psychology of color work. I'm showing
Yeah.
up in different clothes, definitely
Mm-hmm.
different clothes,
Mm-hmm.
different frequency, different vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so it's a fascinating like world to dance in for sure.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. It reminds me too of like especially like women in my Roar Beyond group who just graduated. They're Roar Beyond women. Yay, y'all.
Ah.
Oh, I'm so happy. Um, but these women are in so many different walks of life, some in corporate, some in entrepreneurship, just doing different things. And when you have the same role, as Jill was saying, as you grow, as you elevate, like you choose to get inside the nooks and crannies of self, like you have to shift. You may still be in the same role. And so what does that look like for you? Do you show up in corporate like consciously choosing to align with the shift? Or do you do like I did, unlike Jill, like suffer through it for years and years and years and years and years, knowing that like, oh, this identity I'm presenting, yeah, this doesn't fit. It's not me. And admittedly, like, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to lose my lifestyle. I'm afraid they're going to fire me if I really show up in the way
Oh,
that
a
I know I'm
hundred,
called to show up. Like
hundred
walking
percent.
in that fear. At one part of that, I was in another marriage. Um, but for the most of that, I was single and going, I have to take care of me. Like nobody's going to be out here like paying for my lifestyle and maintaining me. Like I have to do it. So I had this self-imposed pressure to compartmentalize.
I
Like, yep,
mean,
here we
that
are
bring
doing
that
this
brings
again.
up a whole other thing talking about transitions is I think you and I both just how we are and the essence of who we are work with really independent, high achieving powerhouse women. Um,
A bad
because
y'all.
that because that's what we are. And what comes with that is we've talked about this before, the lone wolfing, the independent has a shadow side. So it's a lot of pressure in regards to if you're out there and this is talking to the solo women not in partnership, right? Like not
Yes.
having another income coming in.
Yes.
There's a lot of pressure there. You're building your life solo, and to the moms solo,
Yeah.
having the
Yeah.
kids, having the house, wanting to do the bet. Like I have a dear, dear sister, and I've watched over the years as she is creating this life for herself. And we've talked a lot about it. Is there's a lot of things out there, but there is definitely something to be said for that pressure of self in the keep like the money, the whole conversation.
It
But it's
is.
just
Yeah.
you. It is just you.
Yeah. It can
Um,
feel really scary. And
and
yeah.
lonely. It's super
And I was gonna
lonely.
say, and very isolating, very lonely. And where do you get to go and have these conversations? Like, where does that happen? Especially if you're in that kind of space and you are a woman of authority. Like, I know I've talked, and I still talk to women this day who have positions of authority in life, at work. I'm the principal,
Mhm.
I'm the VP, I'm the mother. I run this household. Like, I'm the authority, and they feel so powerless, powerless to change anything. Like I built this, I built this, I built this, and now I have to keep being this to keep all of this.
Oof.
Oh,
Mm.
right? It feels so heavy. And I remember one client of mine one time, this is so many years ago, I remember her flat out saying, I don't want to start over. I don't want to go and do what I really know I'm called to do. Like she is a writer. She is an extraordinary writer. She says, I don't want to leave corporate to go pursue this. And then like I'm in an internship with the 20-year-old, or like I'm starting at the bottom. Like I am a multiple six-figure earner. I am the primary earner in my household, children in private school, like I'm doing all of this and I'm taking care of my parents. How am I going to go and do that? Like in her mind, like there is no transition, there is no threshold. Like I don't get to walk through the door of my dreams. I don't get to walk through the door of my purpose. I don't get to do that. It hurt my heart so deeply,
Mhm.
even hearing her say that. Because, of course, inside I wasn't like, just pack it up and leave. Go pursue it. Like follow your bliss and the money will come. We all know. No,
I
no,
can't.
sis, We're not doing that. We're still sovereign, responsible grown-ups.
100%.
We need to be adulting, right? So it's not that,
Because we're human.
but we're human, right?
Because we're human.
But it can be that you walk through that door. You can walk through that door. You really can. And you can make a plan to do all the other things, right? But it's that compartmentalizing, it's that pushing down of your identity. It's like you not allowing yourself to be fully visible. Like they're only seeing this part of you. They see the authoritarian, they see the one getting it done, they see the one wiping snotty noses and dirty butts and still bringing home six figures
Effortlessly. Let's like
effortlessly,
effortlessly. Here's
right?
here's the thing. This just came up with one of my clients, and I'm like visualizing, because it's life. And sometimes you can't just cut the rope and cut ship. You have family and you have kids, and there are responsibilities. It's
Right,
this fun idea of, can you wrap yourself in a bubble of bliss, like this
right.
bliss bubble, for 5
Mm,
minutes? Maybe it's when you're sitting on the toilet. Maybe it's when you're taking a shower. It is in those moments where then at least you're allowing the vision, this
yeah,
dream, this other
yeah.
part of you to have a little space. Like that's the only way, because our paths are a bit different and our corporate
Mm,
transitions and journeys. That's the
absolutely.
that is how I maintain this, is I will wrap my dreams in like bubbles and create pockets of time to sit
Yeah,
with them, to sit with my business, my brand, this idea, this event, whatever it might be. Um,
absolutely.
that's
What a
like gotta
gift.
happen. We've got to all be
We
giving
have to allow
ourselves
ourselves
bubbles
that.
of bliss. That
I
just came
love
in.
that bubbles of bliss.
Bubbles of
Yeah,
bliss.
I so yeah, I remember when I lived in Georgia being in my shower, like sitting in there just bawling, like what is happening in my life? My career is taking off, like I'm doing all these great things. And my secret shame was that I was miserable. Like I didn't feel, I felt like sharing publicly that I was so miserable with me complaining about my so privileged life. And that brought me shame, like, oh, I can't really say that. Like, ooh, I can't. And the reality is that's just not true. Like those are tricks. Those, yeah, that it's just not true. But when I would allow myself to grab those, like what I call those magical micro moments to go, I get to breathe in the purpose. I get to breathe in my bliss, like have it right now. And oh, okay, okay. Like, it started to become, it already was my being, but it started to become my expression, like little glimpses, little like
Yeah.
beams of light would start to come out. And I recognized that when I was sharing that, sometimes it would just jump out. And I'm like, don't say that at work. Oh, don't say that to that person or whatever. Like, oh, it's coming out, right? The response I got was overwhelmingly positive. I was met with so much acceptance so much encouragement. I was held. And yeah, were there people who were like, what's up with her? Like, she's all funny style now. Like, yeah, absolutely. And guess what? I was at a place after doing this work that those opinions didn't matter to me. They just didn't. Not like how I imagined them to matter. And I'm not saying, oh, my boss's opinion of me didn't matter, and so I didn't care if I got fired. No, it wasn't that. It was just more around the weight of how they were seeing me didn't matter as much as the weight of me not being seen, me not showing up as myself, me being invisible in my own life. I have all this authority and feeling powerless. The weight of that, no, like those were bonds I was ready to break. And you get to choose. Like, we get to choose. Choose those bubbles of bliss. Choose those magical micro moments. Like, choose them to breathe in all of these things that are here for you. Like, we're here to meet you
And
and
that's
hold you.
and that's embodiment.
That
Uh
is embodiment.
Here's what I did with all the opinions. I use them as gateways into that person's internal self. And so
Absolutely.
it was always the higher self can come and support and play. Maybe you're talking to your VP, the CEO. Everyone has lives. We forget this. It becomes so businessy. And
Hmm.
that's the thing that I noticed is when I started showing
Hmm.
up in my essence, it was disrupting a lot in some people,
Absolutely.
because they were, really balled up tight. And anytime we see someone liberated,
Hmm.
if you are feeling something stir inside of you, take note. It's like, let me just take this is some really good feedback.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point. Yeah. When I often knew, probably because of how I was raised and things I was taught, but yeah, if I'm not ruffling a few feathers, if I'm not stirring somebody's pot by my mere presence, something's off with me. Something's off with me. Not, and that's just a broad generalization, not every single case, not every single time, not every single person. But for me, yeah, if everything was like hunky dory, everything's fine all the time, all the time, all the time, all the time, like what's up with that? What's going on? Maybe I need my pot stirred. Maybe my feathers need to be ruffled. But I remember being in spaces and seeing women who were so freaking liberated. I'm talking about, they were
Boom.
straight up liberated, right? And going on the inside, going, oh, I can't show up like that. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. People are going to
Who's
talk
this?
about them.
How?
Oh, we
How?
can't do that. Like, I wanted them to do what I was
Yeah.
doing, like constrain yourself, girl. Like, you can't come in here like that. And watching those women go, not only can I am, and
They
maybe
do
this is something
they do
that
the
you
off
can start doing.
shoulder. They do the off
What?
shoulder, like, now watch me.
What? Oh my gosh. I remember one of them, I was like 22. Yeah, I wasn't 25 yet. I was like 22. And this woman came gliding in the room. Like, I promise you, in my mind, this woman was gliding into the room. And I don't mean in the corporatey schmorpity way. Like, it, what just happened here? I felt her before I even saw her. I
Yeah.
felt her presence.
Yeah.
And something must have been in me that she felt, because it was as if she was searching and scanning the whole room. And she came right over to me, and she, like, you don't just go touching strangers. She put her hand on my shoulder. I don't know this woman. She put her hand on my shoulder and she said, sister, show up. Okay. And I was like, yep, I'm ready. Like, it was gonna be a panel discussion. So I'm thinking, she's like, all right, let's put on a show. Show up. Like, yeah, we're on a panel, blah, blah, blah. And she's moderating the panel and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely, sure. Yeah. It was when I felt her touch. I was like, oh, she is not talking about the panel. Like, how? like, is she reading my journals? How does she know that there's this part of me ready for the transition? How does she know?
Mm,
Because when you're in it, you see it. Like, it's so clear. Like, you can point them out, like, boom, 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 she's ready, she's ready. All of us have access to it. It's just a point of whether or not we're ready to access it. And I didn't feel like I was ready at all because, again, I'm 22. I'm in a room full of 30 and 40-year-olds who are established, and I'm just learning, taking it all in, like all this kind of stuff. And we became close like later in life, but I remember her sharing with me, she's like, "You were ready. You just didn't trust that you were ready, but you were absolutely ready." Mm, mm. I
mm.
wonder, for people who are with us, joining us, how many times does that get in your way of what you really desire, what you really need in your life? That lack of self trust altogether, or compromised self trust? How many times? How many opportunities have slipped through your fingers because you didn't trust yourself to be ready? You didn't trust yourself enough. Yeah, I'm just curious. Is it just us?
I think we get to, yeah, please comment. Let us know if you're in a transition, if you want to be in a transition, because it's different textures. It's going to feel different under your feet.
Oh, I love that. Ooh, ooh, ooh.
Ah,
That feels
what a
so
beautiful
good.
chat with you today, sister. Thank
It's
you all.
always a beautiful chat. I'm
Thank you
telling you,
all
this is,
for your time.
oh,
Mm,
so good.
well, we'll see y'all. We'll see y'all next time for sure. Every
Yes.
Wednesday,
11,
11:11
11.
a.m. Eastern.
We love you.
Bye.
Mwah. Bye.